sun will always shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper, so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm, and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
Hello, hello. Mark there. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Evening Intelligence Report. I'm Mark Hartke. I'm Larry Lawson. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, and CB base stations, and Ultranet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, territories, and the clock. It is 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Larry, it's been a perfect day today. Not too hot, not too cold, cool at night, good sleeping or working weather outside if you're willing to work through the evening. What's it like in your neck of the woods? What's the date today? What's jumping off the wall, sir?
It's the 14th of July, 2020 AD. And you guys ought to get on the internet and pull up these words: vaccine bait and switch as millions pulled from WHO, the WHO. Trump funds the Gates-backed Gavi group, G-A-V-I. It's the Global Alliance for Vaccine something or other. But I want you to hear from this Zionist pig's own lips yourself. There's a clip here, and it's on Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance website. That's on YouTube. That's their channel, Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. And this is Trump. Listen to what he says.
Gavi operates with great transparency, and Boris Johnson is somebody with tremendous respect for you and everything you do. He called, he said, "Do you think you could do something maybe around the Oval Office or right by the Oval Office?" I said, "Why not? It happens to be right behind me." As the coronavirus has shown, there are no borders. It doesn't discriminate. It's mean, it's nasty, but we're going to all take care of it together. It's great to be partnering with you. We will work hard. We will work strong. Send my regards to Boris, and good luck. Let's get the answer.
That's Trump, who told you he's going to bring the military around to your door to give you the vaccine that they're now funding $8 billion, in your name. And I'll remind you that Bill Gates did the Event 201 in October, where they pre-planned and practiced all of this. So in your face, they're using a false, fake pandemic to lock down the sheep. And now Trump's showing his subservience by wearing the mask. These are all lies. We're called terrorists if we oppose masks and lockdowns and vaccines, but those are all the things we need to oppose now, immediately. They're trying to make this law in many states. You got to wear these subservient masks in public. That's what's going on here. And Trump's part of this. Remember him standing up there with that fat, phony, rapture jettison slob Pompeo, little Mikey Pompous. Remember him standing up there and Mikey says, this is real, this is a live exercise, and Trump mumbles, they should have told us. Well, they've got the whole plan now. They're all on board. There's no dispute or difference between him and Bill Gates. He takes Bill Gates' orders. Bill Gates is behind him, and Trump's subservient to him. You catch what I'm saying? He's been subservient to these people since he hung out with a gay Jewish mob boss named Roy Cohn, and still subservient to them by hanging around another gay lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and a pervert named Jeffrey Dershowitz, you know, Epstein's lawyer. They're parading this depravity in front of you with Ghislaine Maxwell. You know, yeah, we caught her. Things are going to happen. Yeah, right. Remember, they used a lookalike corpse to get Jeffy out of prison. He's not dead. And they're working with Ghislaine. Remember that Jeffy was given a slap on the wrist for sex with underage girls in Florida by Acosta, Trump's choice for labor secretary. He was rewarded for that move. He was told that Jeffrey was intelligence. Well, he was intelligence for Israel. Ghislaine Maxwell is the daughter of Robert Maxwell, a spy for Israel who was given state honors, who spread Promise spy software into government computers all over the world. The Israelis are still doing this with apps you have on your own phone, 911 apps, and companies like Carbine. They've only grown more and more insidious and entrenched. We haven't had a good president probably since Kennedy. He actually spoke out against these people. They actually did sign an executive order to rein in the Federal Reserve, did try and stop Israel from getting nukes. And for all of this, they put 2 bullets in him. But interestingly, I just find that really interesting. 2 bullets hit him in the front and came out the back of his head in the videos that I saw. But if you watch them now, have you seen the new videos, Mark? I know we've had some discussion on the differences between what you and I saw, but the video that I see now, Jackie clearly puts her hand up behind his head and the front part of his head blows out, which never happened in what I recall in these videos. But folks, check out that video. And it was 4 people in a 4-seater car, and now it's 6 in a 6-seater car. I remember 4, Mark remembers 6. There's something going on with these things. They call that the Mandela effect. Thousands of things have changed now. We're coming to a crux. There's definitely something going down on Election Day. They're setting up for this. They've practiced. They've done exercises, just like they have on everything else. They've practiced for confusion and trauma on Election Day, just like they practiced with this COVID virus in October. And these are Israeli groups that are managing these exercises. So they've been kind of quiet except for the fact that they've been bombing the Iranians, which the Iranians are really good at killing the ISIS, which Obama created, the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service that Obama created, and Trump continues to fund, arm, and support. He's the same garbage, folks. Hillary armed them. You know, that was the whole thing about Christopher Stevens being killed. This was all about arms shipments, you know, missiles to Syria, to terrorists. They set these people up. Trump is as much Epstein-guilty garbage as the Clintons are, and he's the one in charge. And yet he's got people completely snowed with this Q garbage that somehow he's a knight in shining armor. You may not have heard this, Mark, but now they're trying to say that, I forget which Kennedy was killed in the plane crash running against Hillary, you know, one of the juniors, but they're saying that he's alive again, he's working with Trump, and they're going to bring all this around. And folks, have you noticed that the economy has been destroyed under Trump, and it was done under the orders of the people that he put in power, and yet he continues to try and deny this? Remember, he put Elliot Abrams, CIA, in charge, trying to overthrow Venezuela, and he's been mouthing off about hitting Venezuela again. I find it very interesting that a great big amphibious assault ship just burned in the harbor. I mean, completely toast. It's still burning after 2 days. Russia's been really successful at using drones at, say, taking out munitions depots in Ukraine that Trump has stupidly funded, just like Obama did. Stupidly spent billions of dollars trying to arm the Ukrainians, you know, after using Nazi Maidan to overthrow that government. They did. We rag about we rag about duly elected governments, but that guy was elected, and we're trying to substitute our own little Guido, butt kisser down there in Venezuela, where we're trying to force this on people, and we hypocritically rail against the Russians and Ukraine. So we spent $5 billion, according to Victoria Nuland, who is a Zionist, one of the tribe. Her scumbag husband, Robert Kagan, works in the Defense Department. These people push war, push lies to push war. That was one of the things that Kennedy stood against. So I find these things very interesting. But yeah, we spent billions of dollars on these weapons for Ukraine, and Russians have blown them up twice. Very cleverly one time, they took a small drone into a munitions depot and set it off. We tried to do the same thing, assassinate Maduro down in Venezuela using several $1,000 drones and C4 attached to them. That's video that was online. We pound our chest, as some ideological hero. We murdered Soleimani of Iran, who was very good at killing ISIS. Trump lied about the reasons for doing so. But the fact is, he supports ISIS that he said he was against. He said he was going to get our guys out of Syria, and he puts them back in there to steal their oil, to burn their food, burn their wheat fields, kill their people. Do you not think that the country's actions are going to have consequences?
Let's not forget they're doing the same thing to the Palestinians at the exact same time. Burning the crops in Palestine, which is something the Jewish mob's always good for. I've told everybody a million times, and I will repeat this again, food is a weapon. One way or another, they're manipulating the food supply right now. The only interesting thing I can see is as far as certain elements of the market, they're stripping South America right now. More and more we're seeing, if you pay attention to point of origin, place of origin for the foodstuffs, pay attention to the back of your bags, go find it. It's on the bag or the box somewhere. More and more, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, Brazil, Peru, Chile. Ones not there are obviously the ones I wouldn't trust very far anyway, which would be like, Venezuela. Bolivia is kind of missing from the formula, but Bolivia's got a lot of stuff going on right now, even as we speak, with physical actions inside the country. Colombia, ain't no way in hell, although I'm sure we probably get something from Colombia, but as far as, trusting food products from there, not likely. So the top end of South America is pretty much, zero ground, and everything else, where there's anything of value, it's being pulled out right now. Now, the Asian Rim, or for instance, like Asia, I think China is scarfing up everything in the Asian Rim it can get its hands on that anybody's willing to release. And I think it's all going that way right now. If they can get anything from us, they're doing the same thing. So pay attention. We've got fall around the corner here. We have good crops in some cases, not so good in others. It depends on where the water was sitting. And one's not making up for the other, but we are going to have good production in certain areas that are not regular foodstuffs, as in, the whole, grain core component. We need to put everything you can into cans and jars and buy whatever you can afford or whatever's, available at the Dollar Tree. I keep mentioning Dollar Tree because I keep looking at the prices on MRE main course pouches, and for what they are, they're not MRE, they're the aftermarket slash, with a painted cover instead of just regular plain Jane packaging, still from the same place. But at $3, $4, and $5 a pouch, guys, you can go to Dollar Tree and get 3, 4, or 5 15-ounce cans of chicken and dumplings, lima beans with ham, tamales, and you're getting the same product but in a can, and you're getting more for a lot less. And right now, more for less is really the critical issue here. That's what we need to be watching for. Another thing, it is Communications Tuesday. Long-range communications in some cases just isn't going to be viable, people. I've had a lot of comments on that. Well, what about long range? Well, who do you want to talk to in Canada? Is there anybody you think you need to talk to in Canada? Maybe listening, monitoring, but for the most part, most places, there's no real need for long-range communications from, say, New York to California or Washington State to Florida. I mean, we're doing it right now because it's convenient, but here's something to point out. We lived quite comfortably without all this BS in our youth. We grew up without all this garbage. And to be quite honest, things ran better because people got more done. I'm going to tell you that right now. I think the amount of, just like what happens is the administrative burden that comes along with the technology at play. Okay, it's like when when emails, the big thing was emails and intercommunication within departments with Ethernets, not just with the internet. Oh, they wanted everybody to go to emails. And, the only reason at the University of Michigan they wanted to is so they could spy on and have a record of your communications. That was the number one reason. And what was fascinating years ago is, as I pointed out, I said, you're going to give all these people a secretary because you want everything they do recorded. You want all of this information, and there's a massive amount of data for each action that you're talking about. How many hours are you going to give everybody in the day to accomplish administrative work when they're involved in physical work? And they, well, we won't take that long. We figure it would be 15, 20 minutes. It's like, no, well, first of all, do you see any master typists here? Do you see anybody who looks like they're like administrators, like they were hired as administrative clerks? Do you think that they're commercial typists? So right off the bat, your formula, the numbers were ridiculous. They were insane, and it proved to be true. But they'd rather be spying, and they'd rather have the burden there and be able to spy, even if it costs them in terms of performance in the physical world. Think about that. Now, reverse it with regard to most of what we do. A lot of what we do, we absolutely do not need the computer for. In fact, if we shaved off all the debris, junk, and excrement they've piled on, and we eliminate about 90% of what we're doing, just like cell phones, we don't need to be on the cell phone constantly to somebody. That in and of itself, it's like everybody... Larry, you remember this? You ever watch Tammy? Remember Tammy? Tammy goes to college. Tammy was in high school. Bridget. How about Bridget? Remember Bridget? There was another one that was on TV. What was the big thing when we were all younger that was the big joke about teenage girls? What was one of the big jokes? In fact, they even made a phone for them. Do you remember what the name of the phone was?
You've got me intrigued.
A princess phone.
Okay, the one that kind of looked like a circle. You pick up half of the circle.
Yeah, the princess phone actually is the one that looks like a banana. It looks like that's the best way to describe it. The lower unit is what you rest the unit on. You pick it up, the headset and the dial unit were in the handheld unit. That's a princess phone. Okay, they had princess phones. Why? What was the big joke? Well, where's Tammy? Oh, she's on the phone. And when she gets on the phone, Tammy just doesn't get off the phone. Anybody remember that? You do realize you've all become Tammys, right? You ever think about that? Bridget was the same way. Bridget, I don't care what television program, through the 60s and even into the 70s. Family Affair. Let's see, Father Knows Best. Let's go to another one. You can watch any of these, and about every third episode or second episode has something to do with the young teenage girl being what? Well, where is she? Well, she's on the phone. Oh, God, she'll never be off. You've all become Bridgets. You've all become Tammys. Before, it was just a talky 17-year-old teenage girl or 16-year-old teenage girl that would have the capabilities that you have now. But what kind of capabilities are there, and how useful are they, or what purpose do they serve? You think about that. Think about how they've juxtapositioned that. The whole stinking population have become Tammys. The whole, what was the other one? Dun, 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 dun. Family Affair, that was the other one. Family Affair was another one. Brady Bunch. Even on the Brady Bunch. Hell, they had 3 teenage girls. Well, 2 teenage girls. And one that was going to be teenager by the time they were done with the end of the series. And what were they always on the phone? I need to use the phone. Oh, yes, no, Judy's on the phone. I can't get to the phone. She's going to be, Mom, she's still on the phone. But everybody is now, aren't they? Oh, Tammy, don't you feel good? Yeah. Just a little heads up. Isn't it amazing how they figured that one out? Now, again, if we actually become adult, 99% of what we're doing with most of this technology could get thrown out the window. Isn't it essential anyway? It's nice and entertaining to a degree, but it's not essential. And if we get rid of most of the administrative hack that bothers us, example, I have to clean out emails every day, and even though I could probably block a certain percentage, I usually am in the habit of going through them and canceling them out myself just to make sure that I don't miss anything. Only because what the spam-o machine might think is spam may not be spam and should have been, received because it may be what we call a quiet message. It wasn't for public consumption. It won't even be identified as being a message. I know what it says when somebody sends it to me, but it only means something to me and the sender, and it appears to be innocuous to anyone else. So I have to use the emails and run them all the way through for safety's sake. But even there, I could pare a lot of that down. How much wasted time? I mean, think about how many niblets of moments they've taken away with just the ads and pop-ups that have gotten, progressively worse ad nauseum. And even though you're supposed to have a pop-up and waste, anti-waste time, filter, it doesn't work. Think about that one. So that's part of the, failed communications element that if we carve it away, you will accomplish more. Something to think about. And it needs to be a priority now rather than waiting till later. You need to be engineered properly. With regard to long-range communications, limited long-range communications is all that would be needed for tactical operations, and even there, couriers and close-quarter communication is still your first best choice for operational security. The only thing you might do is use long-range communications for handshakes to confirm. In other words, this is the big, like sending a flare mark out. You don't care who hears it, you don't care who sees it. The communication is a flare to confirm everybody that it's a go. Fire, 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 everybody fire, 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 fire. See how that works? So it's the intermediate and short range that really does the yeoman's work with regard to both military application for the militia and civilian/private sector communications in general to lubricate the commerce and the population's activities, which is the only thing that really otherwise would be of value. Beyond that, it's actually not really, we're not benefiting. In fact, it's quite a waste, to be quite honest. It's consuming a tremendous amount of resource, which is time. And we're going to have to reapply it to the physical world dramatically if we're going to be successful after we win. That's another thing everybody needs to remember. We are in competition, and in competition, we must win. Now, all the rest of the turds we're looking at that are competition, we need to look at as enemies appropriately. And because of that, then we need to be better at applying everything and better at performance across the board. So we need to tune the system up. We got the thinkers, they got the stinkers. Look at the hairballs they've got out on the street. Now, those are rank and file turds and organic sandbags. On the other hand, remember the management is quite wicked. Even the lower-end management wicked and still with enough gray matter to do all kinds of damage, which is why, again, our priority is to focus our energy on that level of the game, more so than the organic sandbags. I mean, granted, we know all the stuff that we're seeing, all the stuff going on with the statues and the rioting, and it's all planned. What we're planning on doing is, again, this is going to kick off, let me give you an example. Who has any confidence in the election? Larry, did you get a absentee ballot in the mail?
Well, the thing is, this is all going on globally. All these leaders globally are doing the same thing. They're locking people down. They're actually doing rioting in Serbia, and the government's trying to say, oh, you guys are terrorists. No, they know what you're doing, and they're actually standing up to you. But they're doing this globally. The Israeli people are rioting against their government because their government's doing it. This is all about controlling the masses all at once. They're ready to plug this thing in, digitally tattoo everybody, plug them into this matrix, digitally to their AI system that they've got set up, these quantum computers. They've got all this stuff ready to go, and they're doing this globally.
Hey, Dad.
No, I've got no confidence in Trump. I mean, the 2016 election was a joke. They gave us the two same horses from the banksters to choose from. They didn't care which one we picked. They knew that we were ready to rise up if they did Hillary. So
yeah, but let's go one step further. See, with that one, there was the fakery that somehow a conventional election, as we're traditionally familiar with, was in motion. Here in Michigan, everybody has already received an absentee ballot in the mail.
Everybody and then some, Dad, across the board. Anthony Brian Logan, he is a black Republican reporter with RT. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's been doing reports on this, like a cat that's been dead for 18 years in Georgia was mailed an absentee ballot form. Not just the pet, but it's a pet that's been. It meets both cliches. It's the pet and it's a great.
In the cemetery, the pet cemetery.
The pet's not even in a cemetery though. They've got it. They had it cremated. That's the only thing they can figure is how it got on any mailing list was when they had it cremated.
Well, you see, that's the thing. This election is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. See, the election is one end. Okay, this is something that everybody needs to consider. Is that the numbers are just not going to be realistic. No matter how we look at it, the numbers just aren't going to be realistic. They're irrelevant. They were almost to that point with the last one, but everybody kind of accepted, and even the bad guys and the bad guys, take your pick of which group I'm talking about, Republicans or Democrats, accepted the end result, grudgingly, but they still accepted it. This time around, there's absolutely no way that you can consider this election to be legitimate.
That's exactly the scenario that this tabletop exercise about the election was going for, Mark.
Right. Well, now, let's tie something else in real quick, is we know that there's no freedom of speech, that they're randomly and arbitrarily just pulling people left, right, blocking and then attacking and physically attacking you for whatever they can get away with. We are talking about the election. That's pretty well torpedoed. There goes the ballot box, and it's pretty well dead. Now, an interesting thing, I don't normally mention it, but if anybody watched Hannity yesterday, now the only reason I bring this up, and I don't normally even mention him, do I? But Roger Stone was released by Trump in the last, day here or so. And he went to, in fact, hold on here, I'm going to pull the part of this up. Make sure you guys can go find it, but it's Roger Stone on Hannity. That should get what I want.
It's amazing how many gay guys surround Trump,
Well,
Roy Cohn, Rudy Giuliani, Roger Stone, Grinnell, head of our security, really? National security guy, a gay Israeli firster who went after Assange.
Whose ass should be out of this country already simply because first of all, anyone at that level of operation is betraying the country, period. They were never intent upon getting the job of working for anybody other than the other party they're assigned to, that they're sworn to, which is not us. So that right off the bat, anybody, and this is something we're going to learn as a lesson through this war that everybody's going to have to hammer. There are no dual citizenship anythings in this country. You want to be a dual citizen, your ass is going over to that other place. By God, you're never coming back. That is if we don't arrest you for whatever crimes you're involved in here. I might not even get to that because somebody might just shoot your hind end before we ever get a chance to, or hang you, before we get a chance to do anything about making a decision about you. And that's where everybody's pissed right now to begin with. However, let me throw this in here. This has to do with the jury box. Go watch. Roger Stone gives fiery first interview following commutation from Trump. Roger Stone gives fiery, F-I-E-R-Y, for those of you who don't spell it, fiery, first interview following commutation from Trump. This is on Fox News, F-A-U-X, no, F-O-X. Fox News, but it's still F-A-U-X. They're the only conservative because it's what the Jewish mob allows, okay? It's got 658,000 hits. Go over there and also do something I do all the time. Oh, look, www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com in the comments section. If everybody helped out and did that everywhere and keeps doing it with any video you watch, how about www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com over in the comments? And if all of you were doing that right now, how many more places would people look and go, maybe I should check that out because this is goofiness here? I do that intentionally whenever I watch any and every video you people send, and then some. And if you don't think so, go look at that video. Look at the comments there. Oh, look, I'm there twice. Okay? Have any of you been doing that? Have you been promoting Liberty Tree Radio? www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. The battlefield should be saturated. We got a whole lot of you listening out there. How can you help us? Every venue you go to, leave in the comments section www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. I do. And I got more than enough to keep me busy, and I think I've put enough into the fight, but I still religiously do that everywhere I go. And if you don't think so, go watch these videos I keep mentioning and look down in the comments section. You might notice something until they pull them, and then when they do, if I go back, I'll put them right back up again. Roger Stone gives fiery first interview following commutation from Trump. Now, why did Trump do that? What do you think? Why do you think before the election, why do you think that Roger Stone why his sentence was commutated? In fact, his sentence was, let's understand something. Trump did not overturn the verdict of the case. All he did was commute the sentence, and also he commuted the overseer or the 2-year service penalty. He'd have to be monitored, which he would have had to pay for, too, by the way. Most people don't realize that's just another fee scam for the shysters in the prostitute or whore's office along with the judge's office. Okay, they get money raked in hand and foot over the fake companies they make to do that. But why did he do that? I want you to think about that for a minute. Now, I'll tell you, there's a couple things going on here. We have 4 or 5 significant power factions battling at the same time at the top end of this country. They're at war. We're going to get dragged into, and we are going to drag them into a ground conflict inside the United States. It's inevitable. We have to. There's no place to go. The cashless society is another thing we haven't even barely touched on. And they're already obviously putting all that down. Oh, we're shortchanged. My ass. We can crank it out so fast to make your head swim. So they've stolen the cash capital in order for that, and it's fake cash. You don't need to tell us about money. We know about money. But the reality is, whatever currency you have is still better than the digital scam. And it's all still tied into the digital scam. Only 10% of the digits that government produces are actually struck as coin or printed as currency. Only 10% at best. So the cashless society is a reason we have to shoot their ass. We aren't even good. There won't even be a discussion. The fact that they're starting this garbage, do not do any business with any company that refuses to give you proper change or tells you that they can't take cash. You're finished with them. I don't care what kind of deals they give. I don't care who the hell they are. And by the way, here's what's funny. Have you noticed that all the asshats doing that are all the punk companies, Larry, that they left stay open when everybody else was shut down?
Right, and that's communism. That's nationalism.
Yeah, well, anybody notice? Oh, nationalism, we'd be taking care of our own. This is communism. This is Soviet socialism. With nationalism, we'd have our own mechanism, and it'd be ours. And this isn't ours. This is an invasion, an alien operation by the Jewish mob to begin with, and which is the reason it needs to be done. We shoot their ass. We're just going to plain shoot their ass. Yeah, so that part right there, remember I said this 6 months ago, you're going to get to certain points where every element of this, you're at the wall. There's no wiggle room. There's nothing left. Well, with the money, you're done. You're there.
He's turned our military over to the Israelis. He's turned the Federal Reserve over to Blackstone, which is Israelis. He's turned the justice system over to them.
Now, here's the thing. Let's go back on the Stone thing, because I wanted to touch on this. The Roger Stone gives fiery first interview. Now, go watch this. I don't normally recommend Hannity. 16 minutes long. But pay attention to the interplay. And who do you think they're talking to? Understand that Hannity, by the time he's done, I will ruin it for you, basically says, well, it would be dangerous. In fact, I would recommend that you not appeal. The courts are failed. Okay? Now they're talking amongst themselves. Guys, you would never hear this in a public venue from any of the supposed conservatives. Ever. The fact that they allowed this tells you something in and of itself, but it was for all of those people who are in the battle at the they don't care about us level, but they're all, how can they manipulate us level? Why was Stone put out now? Well, let me put it this way. Before we get to the election, we could either be in a shooting war, or there's going to be an attempted real coup, not the soft BS coup garbage. There is no such thing. It's a real coup or it's not a coup. That's all there is to it. It either is a coup or it isn't a coup. Take your pick. Now, we haven't seen one yet. They've been making everything in motion, but you have to physically get into the act or you are not in a coup. Physically. Everybody understand that? It requires ass. You got to have your ass in the right place, and it's got to have guns attached to it, or you don't get the coup. Period. You can be right up to. You can run up to the wall, just like the thing on the cashless society garbage you're talking about right now. You're up to the wall, but you haven't gone the next step, because when you do, sky's the limit, and you've got to apply physical force to accomplish the final task. Yeah. So that part of the game meter is done. They either have to defecate or get off the pot. But what they did with Stone is kept him out from behind the wire. What have I been saying to all of you about this whole situation, and why to a degree you got to bite your tongue or grin and bear it or smile and wave a little bit? Stone would be dead behind the wire if this kicks off. It's that simple. What did he do? He took a buddy, a friend, an ally, and it's an ally, a lower player, but still significant because he's well known amongst anybody who was in the propaganda arm, and he pulled him out of the fire before the hit. Another thing, he's the wrong age. Going in his age, someone's going to beat the snot out of him. They kill him behind the wire. I'm going to tell you right now, I've tried to explain to you what it's like to be in that age bracket. It's why you're better off, if you are going to try and drag you away, you might as well shoot their ass. But wherever you can smile, wave, and step sideways, when this kicks off, you do not want to be in the concentration camp. You do not want to be behind the wire. And if you are, we have to know where those people are that we're going to save and get their ass out if we can.
On the reverse of this, Mark, have you noticed that they put his former lawyer, Cohn, back in jail? The one they just let out for supposed COVID, they just put him back in jail.
Right. Well, see, that was one of the arguments that also they had with Stone, is that he has had asthma all of his life. He had a respiratory issue. That is a sidebar, but it's not the reason that I would be worried about being in the prison any more than being outside. That's what's fascinating. The COVID-19 scam is just exactly that, period. In fact, all the areas affected, Italy, the U.S., and Hong Kong, all of those were all in turmoil, all were resisting. So they threw out a fake biological weapons attack. We're in what we're in, but we can't go along with it anymore. In fact, they just expanded the edict that we all had to have more masks as of today. You know what? People were going out of their way, walking around today, not wearing masks. We had more people on the street on a Monday than you normally see anywhere downtown in little town Spec Doc Dexter, okay? And I would say 95%, and even the ones who had a mask, you know what they were doing? Hanging it off their ear, one ear. Like it's, like in other words, like you're in the shop and you walk away from the machine, you don't need the breathing protection, but they're standing around with each other. So we had Greta Bruce Jenner made this big edict that you're all going to go back to wearing masks, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and everybody basically has said, why don't you eat feces, piss off, and die? This is going to happen more and more for the thinking people. Now, the paranoids, the neurotic hypochondriac with paranoid tendencies, they're going to be back to groveling in their hovel again, if they aren't already, because of what Idiot Stick did today. Those people are back to hiding under their bed, in the far third bedroom on the second floor over in the far corner where there's no windows.
And Epstein-guilty Trump is now signaling submission by putting on the mask.
Hold on
He's
here.
funding Bill and Melinda Gates. He's funding Gavi out of his own words. He's funding the very people who did all this.
Right. Well, see, that as the biological attack goes, this is going to fall flat on its face, too, because you're going to find out real quick, anybody that's pushing it, it's like the cashless society. Anybody that's rapidly mouthing themselves off about this cashless society is going to get shot dead. They're going to get stabbed, beat down, clubbed like a baby seal, people are going to make them disappear. And the whole idea of this, we're going to shove this down your throat. Why do you think everybody bought guns? They didn't buy guns because they're worried about the COVID virus attacking them. Everybody is arming up and equipping, and like I said yesterday, we were covering medical. And the medical issue alone, I was in exchange with 2 different companies today out of the 9 or so that I surveyed. I've got responses I haven't looked at since we came back from the program on what it is I was asking about with regard to supply. All of them said the same thing, that whatever they have, they will, they aren't posting it if it's not there, and they are consuming inventories they cannot replace. It's not coming back. The product isn't coming back. Why? Well, here's one of the problems. A lot of the product does come from China. Remember, our mistake about the pharmaceutical industry also works with our medical support. What we have is all we have. But everybody's out there buying it up. What is it that's being bought up? Bandages, combat dressings, field expedient dressings, all the support and supply technology, intravenous and especially transfusion kits. Now, the people that are doing that are people who have seen things and understand what's needed. So everybody is taking this very seriously, especially on our side. We outnumber the enemy. We simply, flat out, outnumber them. The only thing they can try to push this through with is bravura. And if they try, what they're going to have to do, we have to get rid of them. No discussion, no second thoughts, no kindness, none whatsoever. These people are planning on trying to kill pretty much all of you that are listening out there. And need we remind you of the Georgia Guidestones? Which, by the way, there's a monument that needs to be attacked. Gee, Larry, why hasn't Antifa and all the globalists gone after that one? I mean, Black Lives Matter.
I know Trump sure jumped to get Albert Pike back up.
Because the Lodge says so. And like I said, why is that statue there? What is Albert Pike known for? Not for being a Confederate general. Look, for all of our listeners, if you have not seen the book, Morals and Dogma. Morals and Dogma. By who? Albert Pike. Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. We always give you homework assignments. Understand, oh yay, how many different play actors there are in these tiers of games that we're actually facing. And again, like I said, we have 2 major factions. Roger Stone was pulled out, has been pulled out of the inventory, so to speak, and stepped sideways. And they admit it. This is why, again, I want you guys to go watch this. I don't normally do this. You know that. I don't really pay attention to Hannity. I mean, in passing, when you send me a video, I watch it. I might spot check certain things, but I'm not worried about watching them because I know they're hamstrung. But this was very blatant. And in reality, the fact that they're having the conversation, he flat out says, no, you might as well not go back in and appeal. You'd just be going right back into the same court, and they'd just be setting you up. You got a decision to make, but no, that's acknowledging what we've said, that the jury box is gone. Everybody understand that, right? So if the ballot box is in the toilet and the soap box is being burned off from underneath you and the jury box is loaded with your enemy, what do you have left? Now, you don't wait too long, because every day that you wait, your enemy is like a tick that's trying to dig in. And you're going to have to prevent that tick from going any farther. Just that simple. We are going to have to prevent that tick from going any farther.
Hey, Mark.
Go ahead, caller. Jump in there.
This is Mike from Ohio. I just kind of joined the program a few minutes ago, but I heard you talking about the cashless thing. I know a guy here. He was at the Duchess and Duke station getting gas, and his bill was $35 even. He handed the woman 2 20s, expecting to get a $5 bill back in change, and she refused to give it to him because she can't hand him any cash whatsoever. So instead, they give him a gift card with the $5, on it electronically, like a little credit card. And the other
Oh,
thing
hell
was,
no. You better have that $5 across to me. I just gave you cash currency, and per the dictate of the government, by the way, it's the only cash we're allowed to utilize. Does everybody understand there's laws on this? I'm rather fascinated. I'm fascinated that you see they love to do this, but what people need to do, which by the way the Patriot movement has done over and over again, is you walk up with the law in hand and you explain there better be, I don't care if it's change, pennies, dimes, nickels, whatever you got, but this ain't Canada, and I'm not an American in Canada where they arbitrarily set the exchange rate and then forget to make change. I know better than that.
I see the day coming where people are going to get arrested for armed robbery simply for demanding their change at gunpoint because they've had enough. Because, I mean, it's theft. I mean, it's pure theft. And I almost wonder if there's a conspiracy to drive people to Walmart, because in the town I live, you have Myers, you have Kroger's, and you have Walmart. And Walmart's the only store that's happily accepting cash and giving change. So in a sick sort of way, I feel compelled to shop at Walmart.
Yeah, but here again, it depends on where you are in the country. And what pisses me off about that is, like I said, that's the operation we need to avoid. Like the plague. You got to find a mom-and-pop operation somewhere.
Sadly,
Seriously.
we had some, and they've all closed in the last 10 years since 2008 when all that happened.
Well, I mean, even if you got to travel. I'm serious. I'm in the same situation here, but there's certain places that I actually would spend a certain amount of money on because I know how to cherry-pick their goodies. And they've lost two-thirds of the business that we've normally done with them, and I won't go back to them. As long as they do this dog muzzle thing, I'm not going back to them. Little companies or little stores or little businesses, if they're farther out, if they are left, need to be sought out, and we need to, literally we need to build them up and make them grow. And the way to do that is the currency. This currency issue, you know what? Walmart got enough of our cash. They got money all the while everybody else is put out of business. As far as I'm concerned, Walmart needs to be put out of business. They need to be gone. If I had my way, if I had a button in front of me that said close all Walmarts right now, they'd be gone so fast. You wouldn't get the Walmart. You were push this button to close Walmart, and beep, it'd already be done. Just like executing bankers, the international bankers right now. You put a button in front of me, there you go. You just I had the basic gist of it, right? Yeah, they're all dead. Oh, all right, there you go. That's where we are with the situation. Walmart is one of the problems. It was a problem that everybody had warned about. There are things we suspected about them. It has now been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. All it is a ground representative with a ring-knocking piece of trash and a kosher mafia piece of trash at that, two of them, operating an agent for a foreign power on American soil. That's all that Walmart is.
Do you know... is IGA a good company? Because the only thing I have left, probably within 30 or 40 miles, it's a quasi-small mom-and-pop operations in IGA. Most
of those are independent. IGAs are Independent Grocers Association. Okay. IGA. So if you've got a little IGA hanging around, and I would also point out, you need to start telling everybody, you want to change this, you got to stop doing business with them. And by the way, plan better. There's two things that are going to happen. It's like I said, I have been spending money, but not outrageous amounts, but I do spend a certain amount of money, like on fasteners. I had a deal with Menards. We always mention Menards. You don't have it. I don't think you have it where you are. You might, down there in middle Ohio. But Menards, they had this deal on fasteners, 5 pounds for like $2 and some odd cents. You can't beat it. I bought them out more than a few times. They started restocking. They also brought the price up a little bit, but it's still worth it. However, I haven't bought any of those. And I religiously would buy them out so their product would keep cycling in because it was worth the money. There was a bunch of little trinket items that cost, it all adds up, many, many, many dollars. I haven't spent that, and I won't. Also haven't found a comparable product anywhere else, but oh well, I can live with that. I've been finding so many of the places with estate sales, and like I said, we just bought another machine shop, nuts, bolts, screws, fasteners, etc. that I'm kind of set, plus whatever tonnage I already have, which I've got to make sure I start using. It's great to have it on the shelf, but you got to do something with it. Okay, you got to have a certain amount in reserve, but you got to do something with it. Make sure you keep using it. So the grocery stores, you got to plan better. If you're going to make a trip and it's going to be a distance, you make a list. Keep in mind you might have some extra items. Maybe they got some deals, markdowns, whatever. Sure, that's part of the market purchase. Then back home, now you're done traveling around. You're also going to reduce gasoline usage. You don't need to go to the store all the time. I mean, I don't either. Nobody does. If it's a small business and it's a friendly business, different story. You stop in and say hi just for the sake of supporting them. I do that with other businesses around here that are smart enough that they drop the mask thing as quickly as quicker than anybody, not as quickly, quicker than anybody else. And for that reason, yeah, I'll do business with them. I'll buy from them before I'll buy from anybody else, even if it costs me a little more. Want to know why? Because they're on the same page I am. Why am I going to spend money on some asshat who's going to turn around and backstab us left and right, like Walmart? Walmart screwed us through the whole quarantine thing for 3 months. That's how I look at it. They were the only ones allowed. Well, that means they were already part of the deal. That means we're all screwed, and all their crap came from China anyway, which is where the diseases were coming from. So we didn't benefit. That was that was just part of the racket and the scam that was being promoted. Here's the other thing. You want to stop all this garbage? All Trump has to do is sign off on his FEMA order, and you'll notice there's been no discussion about that, guys. But how about, here's another one. Trump has the magic pen. You tell the Treasury to crank out more dimes, nickels, quarters, and by the way, do some half dollars too, and we need more dollars and $5 bills and whatever. All they have to do is sign off on the magic pen he used to know how to use, but apparently doesn't know how to use now, guys.
They furloughed a bunch of the Mint employees, so they're not even making much coinage. I mean, why can't he just, declare them essential workers and saying you're going to go back to work? That simple.
Well, that's another one is, by the way, let's think about this. They did kill off how many cashiers with Walmart doing the cashless scam and bragging up about it.
That's what they're doing at Kroger's now, because at least the Kroger's here, the cashiers, the human beings, aren't allowed to give change, but if you go to the computerized machine, it'll give you change. So they're directing everybody towards the machines.
Right. Well, all the best we can do, like I said, is also, if everybody kept asking me over and over again, I said, well, it's real easy. Find a small town, go to it, and everybody does business the way they normally should, and piss on the rest of these fools. You have two currencies then, the plastic currency for all the Twilight Zone BS, which you keep separate, and amongst yourself you do cash and currency, and you keep your wealth in your community. I would point out we demonstrated this year after year with a little practice we had with the Susan B. Anthony dollars. We did this down by Hillsdale, below Hillsdale, Michigan, and then one location in Indiana and Ohio where they all come together. There were 3 towns. We did this in the 90s. And whenever you went to that town, because we had Patriot meetings there, everybody, no matter who you were, if you were a Patriot, you went to the bank, you got your paycheck in Susan B. Anthony's, and you paid in coin. In 1 week, the whole community was saturated with Susan B. Anthony's. Everybody was using them. Now, if you don't think that you don't have an effect on a community, again, eventually the banks were told by, some other shysters, we can't have this. They're doing the cash thing. And it's like, well, isn't that what you wanted? And we chose the Susan B. Anthony coins and the dollar coins because in our discussions it was, well, the Treasury, they were pissing and moaning because the dollar coins weren't in circulation. So all of a sudden we took tens and hundreds of thousands of dollar coins and put them into circulation, and they were in everybody's cash register. So when you say, well, I don't have that much of an effect, okay, so many hundreds of people are in the Patriot movement and did that in each one of those communities, and it only took so many working families to demonstrate how much of an effect when spending locally we actually had. But they don't want you to think about that. Remember, you're all weak. You're all incompetent. You can't do anything. You can't affect my ass. We outnumber them. But the big problem is we're now at the point, like everything else, you're going to run up to the wall where you're going to have to shoot their ass and get rid of them and get back to an American system and an American economy. Your only option you're going to have is to shoot their ass. Cashless society is a slave society. That's the communist ruble system. That's the communist system, pure and simple. Anybody who proposes a cashless society needs to have their ass shot. I don't care who they are.
Nuclear war survival skills.
Yes, go ahead, Larry. Jump in there, please.
Nuclear war survival skills. I point out that as this revolution occurs, it's been predicted that Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, and other countries will hit. I couldn't blame them at this point. And Nuclear War Survival Skills is a free book that's online, PDF format. Shows you how to save food, build temporary shelter. We got bad news on the horizon. That John Fogerty song. It's coming, and I think they're aiming for Election Day.
I think we're aiming for their crotch. I'm going to remind everybody, I've had this discussion with everybody. Guys, aim for the groin, aim for the groin, aim for the groin. Why? Did anybody see the Homie Fry shoot here in Detroit? Larry, have you watched the video of the black kid that they said, oh, he was unarmed? No, he wasn't. He was fishing for a gun. He pulled the gun out. Guys, what I've been telling you about for years, you can watch on that little video exactly as I've described. Because, he was doing the old, I'm aiming for the head and the pie plate. Didn't tag a single hit on the cop he was shooting at. The cops, they didn't hit with every round they fired. And they're at point-blank range, people. So aim for the groin, aim for the center in the groin, and that way when you do jerk and pull and whatever, hopefully one of those bullets is going to snag someone's hind end instead of cracking over their eye, their ear, cracking over their head. Chock, 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 chock. You hear a crack, you missed. They missed, thank God. You're happy for that one. You hear a crack, your enemy has missed. Don't hear a crack, but you hear the you might have been hit. Just something to think about. You hear the thud, you got the thud and that feeling a little hard impact, and now you're not feeling quite right because you don't feel things, and you're just not, your balance is off, and you're getting a little cross-eyed. Something to think about there. So again, pay attention. Aim for the groin, aim for the groin, aim for the groin. We got a lot of work to do. And again, aim low, center of mass. Blow out the motor section, blow out the gonads, damage the organs, do the arteries. The target's going to stay down. On the other hand, 4 rounds fired real quick. Not one of them hit a target at probably about 5 feet. Real fast, aiming for the guy. He looked like he was aiming for his head. He was going to shoot that cop in the head. Boy, it was lots of air cracking.
Are we past the top, Mark?
No, we're at the top right now, as a matter of fact. So for everybody out there, and by the way, there's a whole bunch of other examples of this, which is why you probably haven't shot very many people, and you don't really, haven't had the opportunity to experience adrenaline rush combined with being involved in a martial situation. So aim low, take it slow. We are at the top. God bless our republic.
Death eternal to the New World Order.
Shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire's on the run.
We're on the march, both day and night.
Keep the flat, beat them down hard, don't let it get back up. Larry, thank you for being there, sir.
Pet Cemetery, now spelled with an S, Mark. S Cemetery.
Meow, I'm voting. Meow. Not right, meow. Okay, Larry. God bless y'all. Ed taking over. We will be back tomorrow, same time. God bless. Bye-bye.
just